The Dangerous Days of Daniel X by James Patterson. Day 4, Chapter 25. Welcome to another of my creepy nightmares. I kind of wish this were a blank page and I had nothing to say, but it isn't. No sooner had I drifted off to sleep that night than number 6 was talking to me, Urgent Seth himself. Imagine a dead and diseased horse's head on the body of a hairy, pasty white, 600 or 700 pound wrestler. Now make it twice as ugly and scary. Oh yeah, and with horrifyingly bad breath. I have one word for you, Daniel. Run, because I have no plans of showing you the tender mercy, the prayer extended to your mama and papa. I will torture you for a human eternity, during which time you will beg for death by an Opus 24 or an axe or 1,000 snake bites. I can see the future, Daniel, and I am looking forward to it. Every excruciating second of your murder and dismemberment. Isn't that a wonderful English word, dismemberment? Now, wake up, dear boy, and enjoy another sleepless night. Compliments of Urgent Seth. Chapter 26. Sleep deprived or not, I forced myself to go to school the next day. Got to keep those priorities straight. It's amazing how not having parents makes you be a parent to yourself. Most of the time, anyway. 2 things happened when I was coming out of my last class. 2 awesomely cool things, actually. There you are, Phoebe Cook said, smiling as she jogged over. I've been looking everywhere for you, Daniel. Then she actually hooked my arm with hers, and I could feel pins and needles on the inside of my elbow where our skin touched. If it was a question before, it was now confirmed. I definitely had a bit of a crush on Phoebe. Dana wasn't going to like this, but I couldn't help what was happening. Sorry, Dana. How about that movie? Maybe Friday? I said as we walked. I think I was blushing. Am I being too pushy? This Friday? Yes, I heard Phoebe thinking. No, wait. Maybe I shouldn't seem too eager to go out with Daniel. He might get the wrong idea. Can I let you know? Phoebe said. I might have to babysit at home. Sure, I said, not wanting Phoebe to feel the least bit uncomfortable. No worries. We stopped in front of my house, and Phoebe suddenly pointed over my shoulder. Ah, how cute, she said, and smiled sweetly. Yep, I definitely had a crush on her. What's your cat's name? She asked. I turned and saw a large tabby standing on the sill of my open kitchen window. My jaw and stomach dropped simultaneously. Not only didn't I have a cat, a security nut that I am, I had made triple sure to lock all the windows. Crap, I said. That's a funny name for a cat, Phoebe said, and rolled her eyes. Isn't it? I mumbled, hustling up my front porch steps. I have to go, Phoebe. I'll see you tomorrow. Gotta feed the cat. Or maybe get eaten by it. Chapter 27. The front door creaked open by itself, Trez creepily when I touched the knob. I stopped in the doorway and did a quick mental scan of the house to see if there was someone or something still inside. I didn't sense anything, so I stepped all the way in. First thing I noticed was the ripped-apart couch cushions in the living room. Crap. Next was the waterfall rushing down the stairs. Double crap. I could hear an open tap in the upstairs bathroom, probably the bathtub. While I was assessing the water damage, I noticed burnt rubber tire marks across the floor as if someone had ridden a motorcycle through the house. I think someone had. There goes the security deposit, I mumbled, nimbly stepping around my new indoor wading pool. Next, I noticed something smoldering in the fireplace. It was my book, Water for Elephants. What kind of thoughtless creep would burn a book? The kitchen had taken the worst of the attack. It looked like someone had removed everything from the fridge, item by item, and smashed the bottles and cartons against the wall. The alley cat that I'd seen in the shattered window was standing on the counter now, licking up spilt milk. Oh, there you are, I said. Crap. There was another cat on the floor, a cute calico, that rubbed its cheek against my shin as it purred. What happened here? I mumbled. Suddenly Tabby leaped off the counter and attached itself to my face. I backpedaled, screaming as it hooked several claws into my lower lip and bit into my cheek. A smaller cat attacked too, wrapping itself around my leg like a python with claws and sinking its deep teeth into my shin. I flicked off the kitten first, sending it through the air, then sliding across the counter and into a wall. There was a hideous Velcro-like rip of skin as I detached the tabby from my face and hurled it away. It hissed at me angrily, looking at me with strangely human eyes. Get out of L.A. or die, it croaked in a demonic voice. Before I could react, it hopped onto the counter, and the 2 cats disappeared out the kitchen window. We'll be back, mouse boy, they said in chorus. Chapter 28. Without your friends, well, what are you? Willie, Joe, Emma, and Dana were only too happy to help me clean up after the crazy cat attack. Dana seemed a little distant, like maybe she knew about Phoebe Cook. She didn't say much, though, as she tended to the bloody patch of raw flesh on my face. I looked at myself in the mirror. Great. I looked like I just stepped out of a B horror movie with a very bad makeup job. Why should you care what you look like? Dana said without smiling, not expecting an answer. That was my first sign that she wasn't too pleased about Phoebe. Afterward, I treated everyone to pizza, but I made the mistake of letting Joe order. No, not one with everything, I heard him tell the phone person at Domino's. One of everything. I'd like the entire menu. In fact, make it 2 entire menus. Domino's, Emma said in shock. If you want to kill yourself, fine, but I don't do processed flour. Hello? This is California. There has to be a Whole Foods around here, somewhere. She was already searching the yellow pages when the phone rang. I figured it was the pizza place confirming Joe's insane order. Hello? I said. Hello indeed, a cultured voice said. It was Seth. Don't ask me how I knew for sure. I just did. Just like I knew he was the one who'd trashed my place with his crazy felines. Who's this? I said, plain dumb. Who's this? The voice repeated almost sorrowfully. Now, is that remotely proper etiquette? Wouldn't "may I help you" be a tad more polite? Bad enough they send a body for me, but a crude American one with no manners? Nonetheless, to answer your impolite question, I think you know who I am. Though I dare say if you don't follow my advice very, very soon, you're going to wish you did not. Sorry, I said, still stunned. I've never spoken to a gas before, let alone one that sounded like it had trained with the Royal Shakespeare Company. I really think you have the wrong number. Better the wrong number, the confident British voice said, than the wrong city, Daniel. By the way, I heard you had a little problem today with kitty cats, or should I say, kitty litter. Panic rose at the mention of my name, and the cats. Urgent Seth not only knew where I was, he knew who I was. Chapter 29. Oh yes. Seth leisurely continued. I know who you are, Dan. In fact, I've been patiently waiting for you ever since that unfortunate accident with that silly Arbalisterian pretender in the sewers of Portland. Perhaps you are under the impression that there is some similar business to take care of between you and me, but there is not. Because of your youth, I am paying you this final courtesy. You can't say I didn't give you a fair warning. First the dream, then the visit from my feline friends, now an actual phone call. Move on. Skip me and go on to the next one on your list, if that is your foolish desire. To each his own. Or, as my American friends so charmingly say, it's a free country. But if you value your life, then you do not wish to meet with me, little boy, for I am death its very self. Nothing that has ever encountered me has lived to tell the tale. Seth was more like a gas bag than a gas, I thought. He sure seemed to love the sound of his own voice. Too bad I didn't. Okay, that's interesting, but my name's not Daniel. And I have no idea what you're talking about, I said, still playing dumb. You have a good day. I hung up on him. Then I nearly jumped out of my skin as the phone rang again. I bent down immediately and ripped the cord out of the wall. But as I stood there, something happened that shook my confidence a little. The phone, with its tethered cord dangling beside it, rang again. Cold beads of sweat were rolling down my spinal column. My heart was pounding. The answering machine beside the phone picked up after the second ring. Was that even possible? Dan? Hello? I do believe we've become disconnected, the clipped British voice said from the speaker. Never say I didn't give you a chance, dear boy. The kid gloves are now officially off. You are now dead boy walking. Seth began to chuckle softly. The chuckle morphed into a blood-curdling kind of clicking sound, like a cricket, a 1,000-pound one. All of a sudden, my lungs and face were burning. Then I started gagging. I opened my mouth to tell my friends that I was choking, but nothing came out. I fell to my knees. That's when Willie dove to the floor. He lifted the answering machine by its cord and smashed it to pieces. My breath returned in a sweet, life-preserving rush. Seth isn't your regular garden-variety Slimer, is he? Willie said. I'm beginning to think, I said, between greedy gulps of air. Maybe not. At this I heard a horrifying noise outside. Cats, hundreds of them, shrieking in the night, calling out my name. They knew who I was, too. Chapter 30. I got to school early the next day. Why school? Maybe because I'd learned my lesson in Portland. Or maybe it was because Phoebe Cook would be there. Honestly, I'd say 5% the lesson in Portland, 95% Phoebe. My first class was history with Mr. Marshman, and he was right on time, looking sappier and happier than I'd ever seen him. Why was he so giddy and joyful? Pop quiz time, he announced. I noticed how I was the only one in class who didn't groan like it was the end of the world. Look on the bright side. I wanted to tell them as I took the handout. At least we're not all on the floor sucking alien nerve gas and incapable of breathing. Yeah. Unfortunately, the quiz wasn't all that hard. What are the names of the two oldest, most complete hominid skeletons? Duh, Lucy and Littlefoot, maybe. What was the first known great civilization? Depends on your point of view, I thought mentally, flipping through the origin dates of thousands of major alien tribes, some who made it to Earth long before anything in our history textbook. but I wrote the answer Marshman wanted. The Sumerians. These people had no idea. I was breezing along okay when I suddenly dropped my pen. Hold up. It wasn't too smart for me to show off, was it? I erased what I'd written so far and started scribbling wrong answers one after the other. I handed my test in first, and Marshman graded it in about half a minute flat. Wow, he exclaimed, just to let everyone know, Linus and Cujo were not the oldest hominid skeletons. Las Vegas is not the first known great civilization, and Suron was not the Babylonian king who kept the Jews in captivity. Daniel, I really want to thank you. You provided a perfect example of what not to do in my class. I felt my face flush as everyone in the room laughed at me. I kept my head down as I walked up and got my test. A big red 0 was written across the top, which actually kind of hurt my feelings. Ground control to Daniel, I thought. Maybe you're playing this dumb game a little too well. Chapter 31. Step back, everybody. Give him room. Here comes Albert Daniel Einstein, some wise guy said as I came out of history class. One of the school tough guys was talking to his buddies in the hall. I was trying to walk around him when he grabbed my shirt and shoved me hard against the locker. Guys, feast your eyes on Daniel Hopper, the mindless new kid. Stand back. I speak brain dead. Me, Jake, another kid said, patting his Abercrombie and Fitch polo sweatshirt. He poked me hard in the chest with his finger. You, halfwit. My instinct was to deal with bullies the way all pathetic, attention-seeking, disturbed individuals need to be dealt with, by ignoring them. But I was on edge that morning, and he was picking at a nerve. I stared at his index finger, debating whether I should snap it at the first knuckle or the second. A janitor's mop bucket across the hall solved my dilemma. At a speed approximately that of sound, I shot my left leg behind Jake's and shoved the 6-foot, 200-something pounder with my right palm. He actually went airborne before he landed butt down in the slop bucket. Watch those wet floors and have a super day, I said before I disappeared around the corner, only to barely avoid a head-on collision with Phoebe Cook coming out the door of the biolab. She looked incredible again today. I was hoping to bump into you, Daniel, Phoebe said. Well, not literally, I guess, but do you have a free period now? I was wondering if we could talk, please? I actually had geometry class, but why bring up pesky details? Of course, I said. I finally figured out where the library is, which made her laugh, which made me kind of goofily happy. Chapter 32. Phoebe and I sat on a couple of footstools in a far corner of the library stacks. Our knees were almost touching, and mine were knocking a little. No one else was anywhere around. For about a minute she stayed there, staring at me while she gnawed on her lower lip. Then her eyes welled up with tears. What is it? I whispered. I can't fake it anymore, Phoebe said in a shaky voice. I lied to you about my dad moving us because of his job. We relocated because something awful, really awful, happened to our family. Last July, my sister, Allison, went out to chalk on the driveway after swimming lessons, and she never came back. She was abducted. Somebody took her, Daniel. She was 6 years old. She'd be 7 now. I sat there stunned into silence. I hadn't known what Phoebe was going to say, but I definitely wasn't expecting this kind of revelation. Phoebe started to sob. She balled her fist in her shirt, and I could feel her shuddering against my chest. I'm sorry, I finally managed. I'm so sorry, Phoebe. As I wiped away her tears, I felt the worst kind of sadness inside myself. This was what was so difficult about Phoebe, I realized. It was our connection. We'd both lost people we'd loved. I know what you're feeling, I said. I lost a sister, too. Her name was Porkchop. Chapter 33. I left Phoebe at the doorway of her next class and immediately headed for the nearest exit. I was too wired to be in school right now. I needed to figure some things out. Maybe her sister's disappearance wasn't a coincidence. According to the list, Urgent Seth abducted kids. Was it possible that he had Allison? Of course it was. Keep this in mind. There are no coincidences. I was coming across the teacher's parking lot when I heard a low whooshing sound like a bottle rocket or something. The side window of the BMW in front of me vaporized in a shower of flying glass. There were 2 more barely audible whooshes as I flipped and somersaulted along the asphalt between 2 parked cars, trying not to be hit. A couple of deep gouges blew out of the concrete where my head had been. So, this is what Seth meant when he said the gloves were off. I pointed my head up and spotted a muzzle flash at the top of the football equipment shed. Another projectile zipped past my ear, close enough for me to hear the air pop. This craziness had to stop right now, before somebody got hurt. The problem was that a whole football field stood between me and the enemy with a rocket launcher. I closed my eyes and concentrated hard. When I opened them again, Willie was crouched there beside me. Whoa, what's going on, dude? He said. I was sleeping, you know. I'm getting shot at. The shells are about the size of bowling balls. Cool, Willie said. Not cool, I said. He glanced at the car where we were crouched behind. A 3rd-generation Chevy Cavalier. This will do, he said. Then Willie punched a hole in the window. He yanked open the driver's door. I'm in. Nice interior. He kicked at the steering column until he cracked the plastic. Dang, ignition wires are supposed to be red. This looks like colored spaghetti. Daniel, color of ignition wires for a 97 Chevy Cavalier? I went through pictures and pages of the car manual. Yes, in my head. There's lots stored in there, trust me, till I found what I was looking for. Pink, I said. MacGyver, eat your heart out, Willie giggled, then yanked the 2 pink wires out. He touched their sparking ends together. There was a chugging sound, and then the engine turned over. Willie, you kick butt, I said, and crawled into the driver's seat. I ripped the transmission into reverse, then pounded down on the accelerator. Last but not least, I disappeared Willie again. Thanks, dude. Catch you later, I hope. Chapter 34. The Cavalier's back windshield got blown away as I gunned it through the chain-link fence of the football field. No, I don't have a license in any state. Yes, I'm a pretty good driver anyway. My fiendish opponent wised up when I was at the 10-yard line and closing on him. Talk about a touchdown dance. I flattened the uprights before I hit the corrugated steel equipment shed at about 50. It sounded like a bomb had gone off on the athletic field. The air was filled with shoulder pads and tackling dummies and helmets sporting big blue G's for Glendale. I threw the Cavalier into park and jumped out just as the sniper landed loudly on the car's hood. The first thing I noticed was his gun. It was definitely an off-world weapon, a notorious OPS 2424, the kind of gun that killed my mom and dad. I really didn't like them, so I snapped it in half over my knee. The gunman was moaning as I picked him up over my head. You are toast. Unless you tell me where's Seth, I started to say as a steel chain swung around my throat. Alien hunting lesson number 37, I thought. Save the wisecracks until you're sure your opponent is working alone. This really muscular walking tattoo parlor was trying to strangle me. I gave the gunman a heave and rammed myself, and more important, Mr. Muscles, back against the remaining equipment shed wall. Once, twice, but the third time was the charm. Now he was out for the count, too. I dragged the 2 of them together and placed my hands on their heads. What to do, what to do. I took a deep, centering breath, and all my power was there. There was nothing like the feeling. Think of the best you've ever felt physically, lying down after a long run, dropping yourself into a favorite chair after a long day at school, plunging into a pool on a hot day. Now, times it by 1,000,000 or so. My power was everything good and bright and alive, absorbed and condensed into pure energy. I was its portal. I felt it bubble like molten metal from my chest, through my arms, into my hands. I now pronounce you elephant turds, I told my attackers, and yes, I'm serious about that. Both morons curled into fetal positions. They lay on the grass with their eyes open, limp and motionless, like, well, elephant turds. How do you like that? My mighty mastodon obsession had finally paid off big time. Maybe my friends wouldn't be teasing me about it anymore. By the way, I'm not crazy for thinking elephants are completely amazing. You will too when you know this true story. Elephants were brought to Earth about 3 million years ago from my planet. It was my people's gift to terra firma. How's that for an FYI? Elephants are aliens too.